Good afternoon. I'm Homi Bhabha, Director of the Mahindra Center at Harvard, and absolutely delighted to see such a packed room week after week after week for a series of inspirational conversations with Herbie Hancock. Before I turn things over to my dear friend and co-conspirator on many issues, Professor Henry Louis Gates, I want to offer some brief words of gratitude and appreciation to those who made possible this extraordinary set of Norton lectures. The staff of the Mahindra Humanities Center and Sanders Theater, the music department, the Norton Committee, Herbie Hancock's colleagues in Los Angeles, including his protective lawyer. Please tell him that I sent my regards. The members of the Norton Committee are introducers: Osvaldo Golioff, Kay Chalamet, Ingrid Monson, Vijay Iyer, and of course, Henry Louis Gates, who you will be hearing in a moment. Our great gratitude goes, of course, to you, Herbie. All good things don't come to an end. The best things remain with us as memory and legend. They continue in our conversation long past the utterance of the last word or the echo of the last sound. Herbie, you will live long with us in Harvard's memory of visitors who came for a relatively short period of time and left behind a strong community of colleagues, friends, and admirers. We will remember you for your ennobling humility and your abiding sense of human grace. We will remember you for the care with which you listened to each questioner and interlocutor. We will remember you for refusing to play the butter notes and teaching us that there was no wrong chord that could not be redeemed into a creative harmony. However rich our memories are, we will not allow you to belong to our past. We want you to return to us as often as you can, to bring us your innovative music that so clearly reflects your own improvisatory soul. We never close the door behind us when we open new doors to the future, you said in one of your lectures, as you pushed new musical technologies to the very edge of our experience. Our lives are a balancing act, you taught us, because the past never dies and the future comes upon us much more quickly than we ever imagined. You gave us all this, dear Herbie, with your magic touch, your gift for the anecdote, and your generous sharing of the values and beliefs that have accompanied you throughout your life. Every time we say goodbye, I die a little. Every time we say goodbye, I wonder why a little. But then we listen once more to Maiden Voyage, or Toys, or Sunrisa, or Actual Proof, and the world is made adventurous, harmonious, funky, and somehow new and fresh again. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Homi K. Bhabha one more time. Good afternoon, everybody. When Charles Eliot Norton, the distinguished art historian for whom these lectures are named, was a student here at Harvard in the 1840s, there had yet to be a single African-American student admitted to the college. When he returned as a professor in the 1870s, there were by then a handful of black alumni, but there would not be a tenured faculty member anywhere at the university until William Hinton at the medical school in 1949, 41 years after Norton's death. So, it's highly doubtful that when Charles Eliot Norton's cousin, President Charles Eliot, accepted this memorial hall on behalf of Harvard in the year 1878, that either man could even imagine that one day an African-American musician would deliver a series of lectures on this stage as the Norton Professor of Poetry, or that his topic would be something called the ethics of jazz. A Hancock, maybe. But from the south side of Chicago? But look closer, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll see the groundwork for these lectures being laid at your very feet. And I'm not joking. The ground on which Memorial Hall was built after the Civil War, the ground directly below our feet today, was referred to by Harvardians back then as the Delta. And we all know what role the Delta played in the birth of jazz. More importantly, the motto outside and behind us on this wall, Veritas, stands for truth. And the books on the Harvard seal are permanently opened to convey our commitment to experimentation and the embrace of new knowledge over fixed routines. What else is jazz, I ask you, but that? So you see, Veritas and jazz are synonymous terms. And that is the beauty of a university. Even though men like Charles Eliot and Charles Eliot Norton couldn't even envision this moment, they advanced the spirit of being, of living with provisional truths that allowed for the possibility of all of us being here, listening to a genius of multiple music dimensions, treat us to a master class in jazz and in life, fused not from the stuff of stuffy lecture halls, but the survival of a people making a way out of no way. Given Harvard's deep religious roots, I couldn't help but think as I listened to these amazing Norton lectures that Herbie Hancock has not only given us the ethics of jazz, he has given us the beatitudes of jazz. Think of what he's taught us over these past several weeks. Blessed are they who see, like Miles Davis saw, that, quote, only a great master can provide a path to finding your own true answers. Blessed are they who, quote, reach up while reaching down. Blessed are they who, quote, judge not what another plays, but in a blending of Professor Hancock's Buddhist faith and his faith in history and in music, turn poison into medicine. Blessed are those humble enough to know, as he says, there are no wrong notes, just better choices. As he so felicitously quoted the great Thelonious Monk, who also said, the loudest noise in the world is silence. And blessed are those, quote, crazy enough to change the world by breaking the world's rules responsibly while honestly pursuing their art. And finally, blessed are those who appreciate the difference between knowledge and wisdom, and who are courageous enough to participate in what Herbie calls the human revolution. These are not platitudes, ladies and gentlemen. They are beatitudes, with a Buddhist jazz man's twist. They are also the essence of Veritas and of jazz, and I believe they are at the very reasons why each of us found our way to Harvard this afternoon. Every Monday afternoon since February 3rd, or what we now refer to in these parts as the winter of our discontent. Herbie Hancock has turned Sanders Theater into a classroom almost as lively as the Blue Note in New York, late at night after a long set, when the lead and sidemen are sitting next to each other on tall stools, swapping stories and insights on new and better chords to play. Blessed are we who have been here to bear witness to this teacher, so masterfully drawing for us his collage of old and new, a storyteller's storyteller, which is why it's so very fitting that he has titled his last Norton lecture, Once Upon a Time. Storytelling, scratching, and signifying have always been hallmarks of the African American experience, from slavery to freedom, in the fullest artistic expression. And through those stories, written and sung, played and performed, from cotton fields to Carnegie Hall, they have given us an ethics to cling to through the fiercest of storms. Ladies and gentlemen, what seemed impossible in the year 1878 now seems tuned to the perfect note for this moment standing before you on the Delta of 2014. That is Veritas. That is jazz. That is Herbie Hancock. For his final lecture on the ethics of jazz, please welcome the Charles Eliot Norton Professor of Poetry at Harvard University, Professor Herbie Jeffrey Hancock.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Skip. You know, it's been an amazing experience here, and that the introductions that have been given to me before each lecture have been astounding. I've always been wondering, who's that guy that they're talking about? And I welcome you to my final lecture in the Ethics of Jazz series. To the Harvard faculty, students, and community members, please accept my heartfelt appreciation and profound gratitude for this incredible opportunity to serve as the Charles Eliot Norton Professor. Spending the last few months interacting with you and discussing topics that have influenced my life in and out of music has been an honor and one of the highlights of my life. It's been a privilege to stand on the Sanders Theater stage and talk about some of my experiences with one of my musical mentors, Miles Davis. Share the positive and negative consequences of breaking the rules. Emphasize and give prominence to the necessity and demand for cultural diplomacy. Discuss groundbreaking science and tech innovations and demonstrate some of the new technologies in my own personal toolbox. And illuminate the connection and significance between Buddhism and creativity. And today, along with this exceptional group of talented musicians, I'm going to verbally and sonically unite these ideas and concepts by summarizing the ethics of jazz in a musical way. Today's lecture is about unlocking and revealing the art of performance and it's called Once Upon a Time, which was triggered by something my good friend saxophonist Wayne Shorter has said on a number of occasions. And if people know Wayne, you may have heard him say this himself. And actually, that phrase was in fact handed down by Miles Davis. Miles wanted to lead the band to play a story, play what they were thinking, and would say, "Don't play music." He'd say, "Once upon a time." So what? What do you say after once upon a time? That's our diving off place. And when Wayne performs with his band, he's described the experience as this, and I quote, "When we get together, we don't rehearse. So the first thing we hear, notes, it's always something like, once upon a time. And then we say to each other, what the hell do you say after once upon a time? Okay, let's go for it. Without rehearsing, you're really out there naked, without the credentials, and the audience will see struggle and ultimately, hopefully, victory. And then Wayne continues, just get up there, look at the paper, and start playing. Don't play what you see on the paper. What's behind that music? Look for the face. Look for the dialogue, which is actually you. Once upon a time. Now that's a phrase that is magic. It conjures up the infinite possibilities of performance. Performances come in all shapes and sizes. A recent headline actually grabbed my attention. It read, Alice Hertz Sommer, who found peace in Chopin amid Holocaust, dies at 110. The oldest survivor of the atrocity of the Nazi concentration camps, Ms. Hertz Sommer found solace by performing over 100 concerts in the Terezin camp and said, quote, "Through making music, we were kept alive." The purpose of a performance often goes beyond just entertainment. Performances can highlight a cause, for example, civil rights, the AIDS epidemic, the plight of a beleaguered nation after horrific natural or internal disasters, and can be rough around the edges or worn smooth by experience. Performances are an effective means to communicate the entire spectrum of human emotions, and they take us on excursions and voyages without having to pack a suitcase. So, this afternoon, I'd like to take you along on a journey filled with unknowns, because you're going to see how we put together a performance. I mean, I started to wear a beautiful plaid jacket with a tie and a blue shirt. Tony, you know what I'm talking about, right? I promised you I was going to wear that. I decided to not wear that today because this is going to be like a rehearsal. So we're not prepared. How you like that? But we're going to show you what preparation kind of looks like. We start with nothing, a tabula rasa. We have to decide which songs we're going to play, which concepts we're going to use, design and structure arrangements. And in this case, get to know each other because I'm meeting the bass player, Josh, for the first time today. So obviously, we've never performed together. That's daring, right? For me and for him. This preparation, which you'll see, is an adventure of personalities, ideas, and perspectives. And there is a coalescence and empathetic atmosphere that is shared among the players. It's kind of like making a meal. Everybody pitches in to contribute to what we hope will be satisfying, but leaves you just a little bit hungry for more. In jazz, we try to make the arrangement provocative for the musicians and the audience so that the performance has the stimulus to develop and hopefully be inspiring. We reach out from our hearts to yours. The path leading up to performance begins with a small seed, a flash of an idea. And over the course of time, it's tended, fertilized, and eventually blossoms. Rehearsal, and I'm appropriately dressed for that, is an excellent time to begin thinking outside the box. And elements like trust, courage, sensitivity, among others, are free to emerge. And now, it's my honor to introduce the band that will be accompanying me today. Let's start with Lynn Carrington on drums. I met Terry Lynn when she was a teenager, just last week. You know, she's known several musicians over the years because her father, who's actually sitting right here, he's a saxophone player, right? And we actually never had a chance to play together, but he introduced her to so many musicians over the years, and I think Clark Terry was one of your mentors from. How old were you when you met Clark?
I met Clark probably when I was 10. He took me to Kansas to play Wichita Jazz Festival. And that was 38 years ago.
That's amazing. And did you play with your father's band before that?
Yeah, I used to play with my father all the time, sure, growing up. My grandfather played drums, and he passed away right before I was born, so it kind of ran in the family, you know.
All right, somebody had to play drums. Might as well be you, right? And how old were you at that time?
I started at 7, so.
Wow. I started at 7 too, but I wasn't playing with anybody. I was just practicing scales and things. And this young man over here, Leonel Lewicki. Leonel records for Blue Note Records, and now he's been around for a little bit now. He's from Benin in West Africa, and I met him in 2004? 2001 I met him, right. And actually he applied for the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz collegiate program. It's now called the Fellows Program. And he submitted I think back then it might have been tape, or maybe it was a CD. I'm not sure. Was it tape? It was. Yeah, I think it was tape. Yeah, and anyway, I just remember when I first heard that tape, I said, "What? He's a guitar player?" Because I heard all kinds of stuff, and I never heard anybody play like that. So I just knew, as soon as I meet this guy, I want to hire him, right? I knew that. I finally got a chance to do that 2006, right? 2004, actually, yeah. You get to be my age and the memory kind of goes. You don't remember what days of 2004, yeah. So, and actually, Leonel has his own bands that he's worked with, and 4 CDs, how many?
3.
3. You got 3, all right. But then, but there are some of your compositions on records by other people, like Gretchen Palato and Terrence Blanchard. And so he's an amazing composer, great human being. Actually, they're all great human beings. Yeah. And Terry Lynn, I want to mention that she also teaches over at Berkeley. As a professor there for how long? Yeah. 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 Been there for a number of years. They'll probably name the school after her pretty soon. And Josh Hari on bass. You see, I'm meeting him for the first time, actually just a couple of hours ago. And he plays both acoustic bass and electric bass. I actually don't have anything about his history. Oh, wait a minute, I got something. Yeah, I actually have something written here. It says, I actually asked Terry Lynn to suggest a young artist to join us on the stage today because he represents the future. And I'd like to give him the opportunity to express his ideas in putting these arrangements together, and as well as the rest of us. All of us are mic'd, or we have mics so that you'll have an opportunity to hear our thoughts. And hopefully you can get a sense of our process of working out our arrangements in preparation for performance. So let's get it on. Yeah. I have to admit that I was a little anxious about not saying anything to anybody about what we might do, because normally, if you're putting together a whole show with a band that hasn't been together, you might spend 4 or 5 days, in a jazz group, 6 hours a day, maybe, putting it together. Well, we don't have 4 or 5 days and 6 hours a day, so in order to cut a few corners, there were some discussions over just the past couple of days, but no real preparation as such. So you're going to hopefully get some sense of what we do. We talked about one of the pieces that Leonel wrote. I think it was recorded by Terrence Blanchard first, right? Oh, no? Benny's?
Actually, yes.
It was, yeah. Yeah. That was in 2005 or something? No. Oh, we don't even have to go. We don't have to even go there. But we already discussed that maybe we'll start with that one. So, yeah. What was that idea you talked about? Just the groove that's in the front? Let's just play that for a minute, and then, all right. Just the first round.
Para humo. Sayang para tulong.
It started already. You know, they're already moving into some other territories. So, anyway, the basic form of the piece, maybe we could play that the way with the what in 4? Yeah. Yeah. What was? Yeah.
I was just saying maybe switch, later on move back and forth or something, find some other places.
Yeah. And maybe you mentioned before about switching from the playing in 4 to playing in 4 means playing 4 beats, and then playing in 6 means playing in, the last thing was in 6 piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 2, Anyway, so we start off with 4, and then, and then when we get to that sections. Then first play it in 4, and then switch to 6. Go back and forth. Just stay in there for a minute.
Maybe between the solos, we could stay on the interlude in 4 for a little bit, and then move into something else for your solo, or then like leave your solo point of departure from the 4 to wherever you want to go.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Leonel? Okay.
See, Leonel left a rehearsal, like a get together to go do a class, and so Herbie and I, we have this bad habit of of deconstructing other people's songs.
Yeah, right. It's his tune, but we already deconstructed it, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Time flies. Tempest Fugit, right? Okay, we talked about maybe doing something with a song I wrote called Toys. Maybe play something like the original version, you know, close to it first, and then stop, and then and then start it again. Okay, because we have some other ideas about it, but this is how it kind of was in the beginning. That was the original idea. So what we did actually discuss beforehand, Terry Lynn suggested that since the end of it has this and then it's got this other thing. But anyway, use that kind of as a launching off place. And then see, and play something based off of the melodic content that's in the piece. Is that more or less? see kind of where that goes. Oh yeah, you mentioned something about beats. Yeah.
I was thinking, since it's based off a triplet, you know, you can also turn the triplets into 16th notes, or you know, kind of maybe weave back and forth between the triplet feel and the 16th feel, but with the same value.
Oh, you mean these? That's what she means by triplets, because this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But she's gonna play 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, like that, right? Almost. That's kind of the idea. All right. I mean, this is really taking chances. I mean, we've really completely deconstructed the tune, left a lot of just room for whatever happens that you can't rehearse for. Wayne Shorter, another thing, Wayne, I used to call them Wayneisms, right? Yeah, he would say, how can you rehearse the unknown? Right? So there was one other thing that we thought we might take is another one of my pieces that is fairly well known, and do a little something to it, make a little twist in it. And this, Terry always comes up with ideas, you know, always. Don't fall asleep, Tyler. Yeah. I'm seeing friends of mine over here. So, anyway, so her idea was to take Chameleon and do something different with it. Now the thing is let's see if I can remember how the groove worked, right? I just got a couple. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to our paths crossing again in the near future. And please don't forget to join me in celebrating International Jazz Day on April 30th. Every country in the world will be participating in the festivities. And it will culminate in Osaka, Japan, with an all-star global concert and a few very special surprise videos. The concert will be streamed live, jazzday.com, by the way, which also provides up-to-the-minute information about the event and how to get involved. Right here in Boston and in the vicinity, Jazz Day will be observed in grand style at Wally's Cafe at UMass. Oh, sorry. Wally's Cafe, UMass, the Regatta Bar, Scholars, and Stonehill College. I've enjoyed sharing my experiences and beliefs, and hope you found benefit in learning about some of the heroes and mentors who've been instrumental in my life. I hope our discussions have been of interest, and that I've left you with a few ideas to take along on your personal and collective journeys that, in my view, are important. 1, recognize the value of mentors whose goals and leadership serve as models and guides throughout our lives. 2, work towards happiness for yourself and others as a contribution to the advancement of humanity in your own unique way. 3, never give up on the battle to overcome personal demons that stand in the way of contributing to a more humane and peaceful world. Be open-minded about everything. That's number 4. Number 5 is muster up the courage to examine many sides of an issue, including preconceptions that you may have harbored for a long time. And 6, be prepared to say, yes, I can do this, more often than, no, I'm not able to do this. Number 7, respect all people and realize we need each other. Number 8, if you want to see a good guy, look in the mirror. Want to see a bad guy? Look in the mirror. We're both. But which one's going to win? Number 9, we don't have to like everybody, but we should love everybody. Number 10, have the courage to change and to change the rules. 11, think about purpose. It's really important. And practice the ethics of jazz. My deepest heartfelt thanks to President Faust, Homi Bhabha, the Norton Committee, and the entire team at Harvard who have worked tirelessly to help me illuminate, illustrate, and share many of my experiences and conclusions that I've drawn over the past 6 decades. It's been an honor and a supreme privilege. Thank you very much.